Good evening, and welcome to this week's Black Mental Health is Black Health. I'm your host, Bronwyn Lucas, and as always, we have an exciting guest, and we'll find out in just a little bit who our guest is and what exciting things have happened in her life. If you've never been here before, we always start off with some deep breathing. Why? Well, taking cleansing breaths puts more oxygen in your brain and throughout your body. It can invigorate you, it can relax you and calm you. So, we're going to practice and just take a few deep breaths today. So, if you've not done this with us before, I want you to put your hands lightly on your stomach. And when I say breathe in, you're going to breathe in so deeply you'll feel your stomach expanding. You're going to take it in, and your lungs are just going to fill up. I'll count to four to breathe in and count to four to breathe out. Let's practice. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. One more in, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. That's your moment of just bliss. When you're driving through traffic and folks are getting on your nerve, breathe through it. You're at work and that coworker, you want to say something that you might later regret, breathe through it. Well, Sharon, how was that breathing for you?
It was nice. I needed that.
Awesome. Our guest today is Sharon McDougle. And as I like to do, Sharon, tell us, who are you, and tell us something cool or unique about yourself.
I am a modern day hidden figure. And something cool about me is I used to suit up the astronauts that flew aboard the space shuttle.
Now that is cool. Something we knew that somebody had to do it because it couldn't get in. So I can't wait later on in the show to find out about that cool aspect of who you are and how in the world that works. Because when we think of NASA, we think of astronauts or engineers, but there's so many more jobs.
Yes.
And what's also interesting, this is a really exciting job, no degree required. So we got to find out about that. But first, I titled this tonight, A Story of Resiliency, because you have got a story to tell.
Yes, ma'am.
Because starting with 8 years old and your parents died, tell me about, let's start there to see what got you to be working at NASA.
Okay. Well, I'm from Moss Point, Mississippi. And my father passed away when I was 4 years old, so I didn't get to know him. So I wasn't crushed by that because I wasn't old enough to even know that he was gone, right? And so life's going pretty good as far as I know. I'm a child, And so around after second grade, that summer when we get ready to start third grade, there was an accident. And the way it happened is my mom was gone to the store to get some seafood for dinner. And she was almost back home, about 3 blocks from our house. And the roads were just slick enough, where the oil's up on the road. And a driver under the influence hit her and killed her.
Wow.
So I'm number 9 of 12 children. So, you can imagine the impact it had on the family. And as I mentioned to you earlier, I said my mom gave me life and then she saved my life.
And tell us that, how did she save your life?
That day, usually when she grabbed her purse, if I see her grab her purse, I jump in the car. This day I did the same thing. I had a box of Cracker Jacks. I jumped in the front seat. I was sitting there waiting to go. She got in the car, situated her purse and stuff. And then she kind of paused and looked over at me and said, "You stay here this time, baby." She knew something was going to happen. She knew I still needed to be here.
Wow.
Else I would have been right on the side of the road, dead, just like my mom, if I would have been in that car.
How does that sit with you, knowing that she saved your life?
Well, I was very sad first because I wasn't even thinking about that until like in the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
that you know what, she saved my life. She could have just said, okay, let's go, and I would have been in the same situation. I wouldn't be here talking to you now.
Right.
So I was crushed because my mom was my everything. She was my world. Even though it was a lot of kids, I just felt like it was just me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd take me to the store with her, and all the other ladies like, oh, she looked just like you, and you see her being all proud, and she was a beautiful woman, beautiful. I mean, I just don't think anybody's can compare. And I just remember just being with her and the hugs and the kisses and the stuff you do with little kids. And so after she left, I didn't even know she was dead. Nobody thought to sit the little ones down to tell them that mom's been killed or mom's gone to heaven or, some kind of explanation to the little ones.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's running around, I guess, trying to, because they lost their mom too, the older kids. They're trying to figure out what they have to do. And I'm sure they were trying to plan the funeral. I'm in the yard. I still don't know what's happening. And of
Wow.
course, people start bringing food over. And I'm thinking it's a party. I don't know. It's because my mom's been killed
How did you find out?
at the funeral.
So where did you think she was all that time? For
I didn't.
between.
I don't even know. I don't even know. I didn't have, I guess, a good enough concept of time to think, okay, it's dark. Mom's not here yet. Because there was so much
Mm-hmm.
activity going on. There was so many people
Right.
coming over to the house. And I was a real 8-year-old. I was not like the grown up kids now. We were really kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, she's not here. But I wasn't thinking, where is she? I don't remember. I don't remember that
Mm-hmm.
part.
Right. You were
And
8.
so for the funeral, they put all the kids on the front row, of course. So we walk into this room, and I see this box line in the front of the room, and I kind of tippy toe, and I'm looking like she kind of looked like my mom, but of course, she looks different. She's not lively and color in her cheeks and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And then I kept looking, and then I realized it. Nobody still hadn't told me. I just had to put it together. And I sat in my seat, and then it's kind of somber feeling in the room and stuff, and people sad, and so after I realized that was my mom, I sat and my sister, I had put my head in her lap, and I just kept my head down the whole time because I realized what was going on, that my mom was
Mm-hmm.
dead, and I hadn't had to deal with death before because, like I said, I was 4 when my father passed, so I was old enough to know what was going on, but not really know.
Mm-hmm.
And so after,
And that's something when we look at how we handle things in our community
yeah,
and feeling, oh, they're 8, they don't need to know. Well, it's your mother, and you were eventually going to know.
yeah, and like I
Um,
said, I think it's just because it was just a lot going on, and everybody, it was their mom too. And they
mm-hmm.
just didn't think about, we need to tell the little ones mama's not coming home. I mean, I can understand because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't like she had been sick and we expected the death. She got killed in the car accident right down the street from our house, just going to get some food for dinner.
Well, where did you go after this? Who did you live with?
My oldest sister, she was already married with her family and she already had 5 kids.
And how old was she?
My oldest sister was 17 years older than me, so she was 23, 24. How old did I say I was? So she was 25.
Okay.
She was
Do the
17
math.
years older than me, 25. And
Mm-hmm.
so she had, of course, we had to figure out what to do. The older siblings,
Mm-hmm.
2 were already living in Portland, Oregon. So some of the kids went there to live with the older brother and older sister, and some of us stayed in Mississippi. So
Mm-hmm.
I lived with my oldest sister, and I had to grow up overnight because when my mom was alive, I had all these other older brothers and sisters that did everything. I never did any chores or I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And now my sister, she was trained. She put me into the boot camp, trained me on how to do everything. And then it was pretty much, okay, you know how to do it, and I do. You got it. So I had to, and all her kids were younger than me. I was 8. All her kids were younger than me.
So
So,
did you have to take care of her kids?
so I'm a big girl now. Yeah. So I'm not getting treating like a little baby, getting hugged and snuggled and all that. I'm not getting any of that, except at school from my school teacher. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm sure it affected my sister because it was her mother too. So she might have been
Mm-hmm.
going through some stuff too that I didn't realize because I was young. But I didn't think it was right that I was the only one doing all this work.
I
When
was
there
going
are
to ask, how
8
did that impact you, knowing
it,
that?
it, it messed me up because I was
Also,
like, why is this happening? And I was like, well, if I don't do everything perfect, I might get sent away. That was never
mm,
said to me, but it was self imposed. Like, I need to make sure everything's perfect. I need to make sure I clean everything really good and comb everybody's hair really good, so I don't get sent away somewhere. You think about little movies you see and stuff and TV shows, kids in the orphanage and all that, and dirty and hungry, and so all this stuff is going through my little young mind. But I got used to it. It was my routine now, so it's normal that I comb everybody's hair. I do all the laundry. I take care of the kids. I do everything, and then I go to school, which was my refuge. And I get a few hugs and cuddles there from my teachers. And after my mom died, I was a totally different kid. I
What
don't know if I
changed?
I had no joy. My
Mm.
heart was in the grave with my mama. I was, ugh. I wasn't that same child that was real happy and raising their hand in class and participating, and because I was a smart little kid, and my one of my teachers noticed it, and I'm sure all the adults in town heard about my mom getting killed because it's small. And Mrs. Jennings noticed the change in me, and she started paying a little extra attention to me. And she would like hug on me a little more, or just make a bigger deal about me getting a good grade, more so than normal because she could see I had changed. And she actually brought me out of that little funk, little depression. I'm sure it was depression. I didn't know at that time that I was in. She brought me out of it because if she hadn't, she just treated me like, oh, well, whatever. It's not my problem. Get these kids in and out this room. But she didn't. She put forth that extra little effort. Didn't take much. That extra attention that I wasn't getting anymore from my mom.
Right, that was much
Filled
needed.
that void. She filled that void. And it made a huge difference and turned me back around to my normal self. Now, mind you, my heart is still a little hardened, but she brought me out of it. And so I started getting back into my schoolwork. And because I would just be so worn out because I had to do everything. And then still, do my homework and go to school. So it was hard, but I made it through, and it definitely helped played a huge role in making me the woman I am today. So
So
I
back
always
then,
say,
there was no mental health help for you, no counseling,
no, you
none
suck
of
it up
that.
and keep it moving. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even go.
Mm.
I had never even been to the doctor or dentist until I went into the Air Force.
Really?
Hmm.
Did your sister's children go?
I have no idea. In
Right.
a small town, you ain't paying no doctor. You better go take some castor oil, or you know how it was. Ain't nobody go to no dentist. It's expensive, and we weren't
Yeah.
well to do by no means. We had assistance. You know, So yeah, it's like you all right. Go take a nap.
Like,
See
yeah,
some
go to sleep.
crack with a Sprite, and how all of
Mhm.
old.
Have you used the bathroom lately?
Exactly. Everybody line up get this castor all every day.
Well, did any of your siblings go to your sister's house with you, or just you?
I when it first happened, my sister right below me was still there, Donna. It was me and Donna. And the boys, I think one of my older sisters was just about to graduate, so she stayed for a while because she was about to graduate. And then eventually all the boys went to Portland. Stanley and Earl and Milton.
Now,
They
who
went to
was in
Portland.
Portland? You had family there?
I had my oldest brother and my next to the oldest sister were already living there.
Hmm.
And so, of course, that's the logical thing is let them go live with them because she couldn't keep everybody. She already had her own family, 5 little ones.
Right.
So
Was
I
there ever
ended up,
any resentment for your sister for making you the caregiver and taking away your
yes, and I talked
childhood?
to her about it before she passed, and she said she didn't realize that was the case. She didn't realize it.
Mhm.
That I was unhappy or I felt like I was a slave because I did. I felt like I was a slave. I didn't get beat. She didn't treat me bad, but
You
it's
just
like
had to do all the
this
work.
is your job. You got to do all this stuff, and I just like I said, it was my normal routine. So much so till I went to Portland, Oregon, in the 6th grade to live with one of my other older sisters, and I was there a year, and I wanted to come back home, even though I knew I was gonna have to do all those chores. But that's what I was used to.
Mm.
That was my
Hmm.
life. That's what I was used to. So
And you did come back after that
yeah,
year?
I just did the 6th grade in Portland. I got exposed to my sister Margaret. She exposed me to a lot of stuff that I had never seen before. I had never been to a zoo and all these things that I had never done at home. I had never seen broccoli.
Hmm.
Yeah, in Moss Point, Mississippi, we eating greens. We ain't eat no broccoli. We eat greens and green beans. Nobody
Wow.
eat
Yeah.
broccoli. So I'm
Wow.
like, what is that little tree on my plate? I didn't know what it
Wow.
was. So yeah, so she opened my eyes and she, gave me a little culture, took me to some nice places and stuff. Had nicer little outfits because she only had one little girl. So
So what made you want to come back?
because I felt kind of in a little prison because I couldn't just go outside like I could at home. In a small town, I could just go outside anytime. There, I
Mm-hmm.
had to wait to make sure my sister was home first. So, like when I got home from school, I couldn't just go outside and play. You have to stay in the house until
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do anything unless my sister was there because it's a big city.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at home, everybody know everybody. You could be out, like I say, with street till the street lights come on. You could be
Mm-hmm.
outside playing. You ain't have to worry about nothing.
So
And I
you
couldn't do
still
that
had
there.
some childhood,
Yes,
if you
I can
say
still go
you
outside as long as I got everything done. And usually I have to have some of the kids with me.
Mhm.
I couldn't just be. When I got into the high school, it got a little more leniency because she knew I was getting ready to get out of there. But it's like
Mhm.
if she let me go to a dance, gotta make sure everybody's bathed and put to bed and all that stuff before I could go. That type of situation.
Forgiveness is such a big part of mental health and
Oh,
being
I
able
definitely
to
forgave my
forgive.
sister.
So
Yeah.
I was going to ask,
Oh yeah,
and you were very fortunate to have that
yeah,
conversation, so you were able
yes,
to forgive.
yeah. And then also, but I didn't. I always loved my sister through it all.
Hmm.
I loved her. And my nieces and nephews. And you could talk to any of them and they'll tell you how much I love them. They always call me their mama too. Because I was
Well,
doing
yeah.
everything. And
Hmm.
when I left and went to service, I still came home to visit all the time because I loved my family. Because, like I say, after the first about 5 years, it's like that's just my normal life. I didn't feel any resentment or anything anymore.
Hmm.
Because that's just how it was. That's what I did, and it was just a
And,
normal routine now, so it wasn't a big deal. I comb
this is what
everybody's
you
hair, I
do.
clean. That's it. That's it. That's what I do.
And how did she pass? What happened with her?
Oh, cancer. Yeah, yeah, and that was in 2013.
Oh, okay.
And I actually went home. I got to spend some time with her before she passed, so I was happy to be able to do that.
Hmm. I think it is significant, though, that you could have that conversation,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and just say,
I was just shocked that she said she didn't know. I'm like, you didn't see me. I was the only one doing everything. You didn't make any kids do that.
"Are you blind? How did you not know?"
But I didn't dwell on it. I just wanted to say it to her. You know,
Hmm.
like you say, get it out.
And
It's
that's
like,
important. And
yeah.
the one of the things when we think about our mental health and any kind of situation, that anything that helps us be resilient, talk about
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Conversation is so important.
Yeah.
And as a child, you don't know to say, why am I doing everything? That's not something as a child you would say, but even as an adult to have closure and be able to say, because there are a
Mhm.
lot of people who have gone through, situations and they never get closure because they never
Yeah.
want to talk about it. So you had that and it
Yeah.
allowed you, oh, okay, I don't know how she didn't know, but she said she didn't know, she didn't know. But
And then
there's
like
that
I
sense
said, she was
of
my
closure.
sister. She wasn't my mom either. So that's another thing. She was my big
Hmm.
sister. So she wasn't treating me like one of her little babies. I was her little sister. You know?
Hmm.
So it was fine. Like I said, I still love my family. And even after I left and went in the Air Force, I was still sending packages home to them. I would come home all the time and still hang out with my family. It wasn't anything like once I left, I can't wait to get away from
Right.
them. I was just ready to go and do something and get out of Moss Point and get out of that situation from where
Hmm.
I felt like a slave doing everything. And my nieces, they told me after I left, they was like, "Ooh, I see what you were going through," because they had started.
Because they had to do it. It's like, we
Yeah,
got to do stuff now. Wow.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah, but it wasn't bad. Like I said, I didn't get beat and talked too bad or anything or belittled. It was just a lot of it, like I say, the self-imposed in a way. If I don't do everything perfect, that was me. Once she showed me, I'm like, well, I better make sure I just get everything perfect.
Hmm.
So I
And
don't get no
that's a
problem.
logical jump in that, mom died unexpectedly, and here I am, and unexpected things that happen, and I've got to
Yes,
be in control. So
yes,
being able to think that it's like, I got to have some control in this, and so it
mhm,
makes sense that you would, as a child, your world was so tenuous. So it's like
yeah,
I got to do what I can. So I've got to handle this. So that
exactly,
makes sense. So
exactly.
18, you're 18 and now I'm getting out of here. I gotta go. And you went to the Air Force. Why
Yes,
Air Force? How did that, what
the
happened with
I
that?
call him my knight in shining armor. The Air Force recruiter came and spoke to my class. I want to say it was that fall around maybe October, November-ish. of 81
Mm-hmm.
that spoke to our class. And girl, I raised my hand in the auditorium. I want to sign up right now. Can I go right now? And he said, well, you got to be 18. You can't go right now. So on my birthday in February, when I turned 18, I went down, took the test, and I enlisted. On my birthday, girl, I was ready to go. But of course, I had people set in place for me. So this is why I think I mentioned to you that I always use rejection as redirection, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to bring me in early into the Air Force to be an air traffic controller, which I found out later is a highly stressful job and all this stuff from some people that work there. So I went to my principal to see if I could graduate early so I could go on into the Air Force. And she said, no, Dr. Burkett, thank you, Dr. Burkett, because I no telling where I would have ended up if you'd have let me go early.
Mm.
Yeah, so that was a rejection that redirected me to where I was supposed to be. And so I let them know that no, I couldn't get out early. So after the next job career that came up per my test scores was aerospace physiology. And I didn't know what that was. I was like, girl, that sounds fancy. Let's go. I'm ready.
So tell us, I don't know what that is. It
I
does
don't know.
sound fancy. So tell me now. What? Tell
Yes,
all of my audience what is aerospace physiology? What
that
is
is
that?
working. Aerospace physiology specialist is what my career was. And it's working with the altitude chamber, which is the hypobaric chamber, and the dive chamber, the hyperbaric chamber. The altitude chamber, of course, is to go into altitude. Put the pilots, they get inside. We do some training with them, let them feel high, get a little hypoxic when they don't have enough oxygen, and let them see that they can't operate normally if they don't have oxygen going to their brain. In other words, keep your mask on, your oxygen mask on
Mm.
while you're flying. And the other one is the dive chamber. Like if somebody get the bends or something while they're diving,
Mm.
then they can get into that chamber and go below sea level to help make the bubble smaller that got into their system in their bloodstream. So that's the main reason that one was used. We didn't use that one that often. We did have a medical situation where a man came in, an older gentleman, had got cancer in his cheek, and it was like a hole in his cheek. So they said 100% oxygen. He come in for so many days, for so many hours, at a certain depth, and that helped heal and close it up quicker than just not doing it.
Amazing. We're
So
going to
that was
come back to
long.
that, but tell us a little about life in the military. How long did you stay in the Air Force, right?
Air Force, girl, that was the best thing I could have ever done. I
So you
had
were 18 and you
18.
free. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
It felt so wonderful just to be gone, just gone. And like I said, I mentioned to you when we talked earlier, that's I thought I was grown, but I wouldn't. But anyway, so I'm working at this amazing job where I'm traveling every couple of months. I'm going to a different country. So we had 5 detachments, is what they were called, where the planes would go to fly out of. We would rotate every 2 months. So I had been there for a little while. I want to say maybe I was there a year, if that long. And I got to, and then my first detachment, which was called temporary duty assignment, TDY, I got to go to Japan, to Okinawa Air Base in Japan. And I'll stay there 2 months in support of the aircraft, suiting up the pilots and strapping them into the aircraft. And then I come back to California for 2 months. And then you get it. So you're assigned. Then I go to Korea, or I go to Greece, or I'll go to Florida, or England. Those were the 5 detachments. So this
Mm.
one on, this is 7 years. So I was really only in California 3.5 years because the other 3.5 I was on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And just imagine going to these different places. And then when you're over TDY, you don't work every day like you do at home at your base, at the base, your home base. You know, you're every day there except the weekends. On TDY, they might fly twice a week. They don't fly every day. So it's kind of like a
Mm.
work vacation. So you get to explore the country that you're visiting,
Wow.
hang out. When we went to Greece, we didn't even wear uniforms. We wore civilian clothes. So this was my life. And I got hazard duty pay for just getting into the chamber once a month. So I got extra pay, you know, hazard duty pay is what
And
it's
what
called.
kind of chamber were you getting in?
The altitude chamber that I mentioned
Mm.
earlier. So just to get your hazard duty pay, you have to get in at least once a month. So they always have pilots coming through. So we, you know, either you're operating it, you're driving it, taking it to altitude, maintaining it outside, or you're inside as an inside observer where you're watching the guys. Like if somebody get to shaking or something, you can put their mask back
Mm-hmm.
on, or you know, assist them and tell them what to do and tell them when to take their mask off, when to put it back on. Run through a few little tests. Like after they've had their mask off for a little bit, you'll see how they're gonna react, and you'll tell them like put their hands like this and bank left or bank right. Some of them, they're gone. They don't even know what you're saying, and they're just like this. They don't know what to do. And even though you're saying bank left, bank right, it can't register because they've been off oxygen too long. So little
Mm.
things like that, give them tests, and sometimes it's recorded to show them because afterwards they're like, "No, I didn't do it." I was like, "Okay, show them the recording to let them know it could be that quick, and you could kill yourself or somebody else in that
Mm.
aircraft because you can't control your aircraft because you don't know what's going on because you had your mask off." So that's kind of what
Amazing.
that was, a little demonstration to show them and let them feel the effects of hypoxia. So that's why we were doing
Mm.
the tour. Yeah, they get classroom training first, and then the pilots. It was the Blackbird SR-71 Blackbird and the U-2 pilots. Those were the pressure suits. And so by being at Beale Air Force Base, the pressure suits were an extra duty for aerospace physiology. Any other base, it would have just been the chambers. And thank goodness those pressure suits were there because that was the fun part. The chambers were so boring, so boring. You're just sitting there like this. Or you're in something.
Mm.
No, I couldn't see that being a whole career for it. So
Right. So
the suits were the fun part. Yeah.
so after 7 years of travel and getting to see these cities in the same
Mhm.
cities, you kind of get to know them because you're only going 5 places. So you
Yeah,
probably had your favorite
exactly.
hangouts in the different
Yes.
places. And
Yes.
then you're like, 7 years. Okay.
Yeah.
What made you say it's over? It's been
What
good. It's
things?
been real. It's been
Yeah.
fun, but it's over.
And I was planning to stay 20 years and do a retirement because I would have only
Hmm.
been, 38, 39 when I got out
Right.
and been retired from the Air Force. But things started changing in my unit, and I didn't like the way
Mm.
things were going. So I had to make a decision. And then I was TDY in England, and they sent me a fax saying, "You got to make a decision right now to
Oh,
re-enlist or get out."
wow.
That didn't sit well with me either. I was already thinking about it, and for them to do it like that, I was like, okay, that helped me make the decision quicker. That's all. Instead of putting it off humming and humming. Because I said if I re-enlist one more time, that'll be 12 years, and I'm gonna make myself stay at 20, even if I'm unhappy. And I didn't want to put myself in that situation. So
Mm-hmm.
once again, them rejecting me, redirected me to where I needed to be. So here we go. I get out. Like I told you, I thought I was grown. I'm grown. I'm over 18.
And
I'm
how
grown.
old were you then?
I was 25.
That's what I was thinking. I'm doing the math over here.
25. That's what I'm trying to remember too. 25.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking I'm gonna get out, girl. I'm awesome. I was one of the top technicians at my job. They're gonna be lined up to hire me.
Hmm. Everybody's gonna want you. You knew what you were doing. You were
No,
military. They wanted
girl.
you.
Uh-uh. They was like,
Hmm.
please, we'll give you 3, 4 hours and on little piece of jobs. They ain't like no big shit
Hmm.
for it. Girl, I had 3 part-time jobs.
What were you doing? So you've had this life traveling.
I
You
know.
had this expectation that everyone would want you, and
Yep.
that didn't
Nope.
happen.
Slap.
What kind of
Reality.
part-time jobs did you have to take?
The first one was putting price tags on clothes at a department store. I think it was Wine Stocks, if I remember. It's been so long. So I put price tags on clothing for about 4 to 6 hours. Nobody would hire me full time because they didn't want to give me benefits. So I did that, and all of them were minimum wage. And back then
Hmm.
it was really, oh, I don't know how much it was, $6 maybe.
Now, what city were you in at that point? Where
uh,
did you?
it was Sacramento, California.
Okay, so you
I didn't have
stayed
my
in
own place.
California.
I was sleeping on my friend Lisa. I was sleeping on her futon. Thank goodness she was still living there. She was my roommate in the Air Force, and she had gotten out before me, so she was already
Mm.
in civilian life, living in Sacramento and working. So I don't know what I would have done. And, ooh, girl, if she I don't know. But anyway, so that was one of my jobs. The second one was at Office Depot. Hey, Office Depot. I was stocking shelves. And like I said, 4 to 6 hours, depending on how things were going. And then at nighttime, I would clean an office building. So this went on for 6 months. So yeah, yeah. They see now, ooh, she made history with the space program. But yeah, she was on the struggle bus.
Hmm.
She got out the Air Force. So
Six
that went
months. I
on.
bet it seemed longer at the
It
time.
seemed a whole lot longer. I couldn't just run to the doctor. I couldn't just run to the dentist. I was having allergy reactions, and girl, it was hard. And I had everything. right on the base. Everything was right there.
Mm.
Food, medical, my job, my room.
At that point, did you regret? But during that six
Girl,
months, did you
you
regret
took the
leaving?
words out of my mouth. I was just about to re-enlist when I got that wonderful phone call. I was just about to re-enlist. I promise. I was like, I'm sick of this civilian life. I'm going back in the service.
So you're
So I
six
can get
months
treated
out,
right. 6 months
can't
out.
get a job. Like I'm forget this. I'm ready to go back. And then
Mhm.
what happened? Where is this? Where NASA came in?
Girl, I was between those 15 jobs. Just happened to be at Lisa's place, relaxing for a minute before I go to my other one. And I get a phone call from my friend Ray Villalobos. He was in the Air Force with me in the same unit where I was working. He called. He was already out here in Houston working with the space shuttle program. He called, and mind you, this is before Google, this is before Facebook, all this cell phones. I had nothing. He couldn't look me up and call me.
Mm-hmm.
This man, remember go. This man remembered my roommate Lisa, remembered her name. They didn't just hang out like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Remembered her name, found her in the phone book. Once again, he can't look me up. I ain't got no place. I ain't got nothing.
Great.
Called her apartment. I just happened to be there between jobs. Answered the phone. Sleep deprived. At first, it wasn't clicking. He was like,
Right.
there's an immediate opening. Call right now, Sharon. Call right now. And I was still like, what? Call, you know? So I said, okay. So I hung up the phone and I called the supervisor. I'm thinking I'm about to do an interview, and then they're going to fly me out to do probably a panel interview because it's a space
Mm-hmm.
program, you know? That man told me, come down whenever you're ready. I looked at that phone like, what? What? My friend Ray Villalobos, I call him Lobo, had already sponsored me. He had already prepped them,
Mm.
told them how awesome I am, blah blah blah. He done already did legwork. I was ready to walk on water. I was ready to give it to him on that phone. I didn't even have to do it. He had already done it.
It was your job.
My job. I guess they just needed to, to go through the little motions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just girl, I couldn't throw my clothes in that little car fast enough. I went
So
out like
you
the best
drove to
thing in this
Texas.
house. Drove from California to Texas. And girl, that was ooh. After the Air Force, that was another best move. I think Ray, I think Bill Lobo. I think Lobo. Because he could
So
have
now
called anybody
tell
else.
us,
He could have called anybody else that was at our unit
right.
that had gotten out.
And he went through an effort to find you.
Girl, how did he remember her name? Somebody that you're not like you real
Right.
close with, you know? I'm just glad he did. And
It
then when I
was so
came out
meant for
here,
you.
I had to stay at his apartment for about a week till I got my own place. So he's still helping me, you know?
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So
Amazing man.
you get this job at NASA and you're dressing astronauts, you're putting them in their spacesuits. Tell us
Mhm.
about that. What does that even entail?
Well, I stepped right into it because it's the same thing I did in the Air Force. We suited up the
Mm-hmm.
pilots, and NASA got the suits from the Air Force. So it's the
Mm.
same thing, girl. And our job actually started back up after the Challenger accident. So
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, that's how the crew escape equipment department came back into play. So I go in, I hit the floor running because I already know how to do it. I know how to work the test stand. I know how to take the suit apart and put it back together, and the helmet and the gloves. I know how to do all that. It's like breathing, do it in my sleep.
Right.
So I'm on night shift when I first get there. I look like I'm still like I'm about 15 or 16 because I'm only 26 or so. So I'm still a baby. And so, you're getting eyeballed from, and it was about 3 or 4 other guys from my unit there besides Ray, besides
Mm-hmm.
Bobo. So I knew some people. But of course, the civilians that were working in there as technicians, they were kind of like, feeling some type of way because all these Air Force people coming in that's already trained with years of experience. I'm one of the few that didn't retire from the Air Force. Most of them there had retired from the Air Force, so they had way more
Mm.
experience. So they had a lot of experience doing that job. So I mean, it was fine. I never had any problems as far as racially. People always ask me about that. Was it hard
Yeah.
being
So
a
you
black
went into
woman?
this situation, young African American female. How many other black women were there?
No, I was the first black technician in the crew escape period.
Wow.
First one. I was the first one. Then I became the first Black crew chief and first woman crew chief. And then I became the last 8 years I was there. I became the manager of the department without a college degree.
And I think that's so significant because in my generation, it was, you have to go to school, get a college degree, get a job, and
Yep.
you work and you stay there. And that was how success was measured.
Yeah.
But you are here to say, no,
There are
let me
so many other
correct.
options, so many other options
Yes.
nowadays, whether it be the military or any other type of trade schools or things. And then, nowadays with the online stuff, these kids get jobs like online doing stuff where they don't even have to
Hmm.
leave the house,
Right.
let alone have a degree. So yeah, it's so many other options now. Of course, I'm not down because that's why I went. That's why I went into the Air Force was for them to pay for my college because I didn't have money to go to college on my own. That's why I went
Hmm.
in. But they gave me that amazing job while I'm traveling. I kept saying, I'll go next semester. I'll go next semester. And I didn't do one semester at all. I didn't take one class. I was having so much fun living my best life.
Yeah.
And I was doing well for what it was just me. I didn't have a
Right.
family to take care of. And I'm traveling and having a good time and still young. And then I come here and I started at the very bottom, even though I wasn't aware. I didn't even care. They could have said $5. I was driving to Texas. I don't care how
It
much.
was a job.
I didn't even talk about pay. You know that? I didn't even know what I was getting paid till I got here.
So you just heard I have a job, and I guess you figured as
Yes,
an NASA, I've got a job, I got benefits, I'm going.
there
Well,
it
was
is.
it decent
And I
pay?
knew, but I knew, Bronwyn, that once I got here, because I'm such a hard worker and I was good at what I did,
Mm-hmm.
that I would go up. I knew I would go up. I didn't
Right.
think I would ever be manager, but I knew I was going to go up whatever ladder they had because I'm a sharp cookie and I love my job.
And that has a lot to do with it. Not only
Mhm.
were you a good worker, you loved your job. And I
I
think
love
it's so important, what is that statement? If you
you
love
love your
your
job, you
work,
never
is
work a day.
right. And
Mhm.
it is true. So you were there when you enjoyed what you do. And it sounds like um, it does. It sounds like it's so interesting. It's something we never heard of, and we can think about that. And like I said earlier, we know somebody has to help them put that suit on because you can't just jump in it,
Exactly.
And
And
there's
people
so
tend to
much
think it's a costume.
technology that
Yes.
goes into that.
It is life-sustaining equipment. If they had a loss of cabin pressure inside the orbiter, inside the space shuttle, or if they needed to bail out, it assists them as well. So, that's why another reason I wrote the book too. I wanted them to know about the suit and what it did. So they didn't think it's just a pretty orange suit costume they put on just to take pictures and wave at the crowd. No, this is
Hmm.
they train for a year prior to going to launch, putting the suit on and off because we're not going to be in space. So they have to know how to do it and help each other. They use a
Hmm.
buddy system. And then the suit's floating and moving around. So that's even more difficult.
Hmm.
So we just train and make it easier on them. They don't need to be having to go through all of that hustle and bustle. We make it a little easier on them, show them the proper way to even fold it up and stow it when they get to space because it has metal parts that they could damage if they don't fold it properly and
Mm.
put it away properly. So just little things like that people don't think of. They just see the orange suit. Oh, the pumpkin suit. Oh, it's a costume. It's like, no. The one I
No,
wear is a costume now. But
but
that
that's
was
not a
what we did
costume.
here. Yeah. And then they would
Tell
have
us about your book.
my book, Suit Up for Launch with Shay, right there in my background. Ah, it's amazing. It is it's based on a mother-daughter conversation. Shay wants to play dress up, and her mother being a former suit tech. When
Hmm.
Shay lands on astronaut after she goes through what do I want to do? What do I want to dress up as? And her mom makes it a teachable moment and starts telling her about the different layers, what the suit's for, and all this stuff. And they get to the end, and then Shay has her little suit. She gets to play dress up. But it's very educational, very fun, and it's really fun when I read it to you.
Oh, and what I read a little bit of it to start
Okay.
it out. Let us hear a little of
Okay,
it. We have
well.
a few minutes left. Get us
Okay.
started.
Wake up, Shay. Today it'll just be you and me, sweetie. What do you want to do? Shay yawns as she gets out of bed and then she perks up and says, let's play dress up, mama. Mama says, okay, let's do it. What do you want to dress up as? Shay thinks for a moment. A princess? Nah. What about a doctor? Nah. A firefighter? Hmm. I don't know, mama, Shay says, defeated. Then Shay's face lights up and she exclaims, I want to dress up as an astronaut. You saw that coming, didn't you?
Yes.
I'll read one more page. This is the fun page right here. They stop sticking together. Said, is this the one that's I get the kids to get to moving? Girl, if I get to the page, hold on. Oh, here we go. Mama continues. The bladder is the inside layer that seals and inflates like a balloon, but it won't inflate if it's not zipped up all the way and snapped. The helmet and gloves also have to be attached to the suit and locked in place for the suit to inflate. So you have to make sure everything is click, clack, snap. Can you say click, clack, snap? Click, clack, snap.
I love it.
They asked with a perplexed look, but won't it float away? Mama says, no, baby, it won't float away. And there's the click, clack, snap. Got to make sure it's all snapped in, because if you don't put the glove on or the helmet on, it'll be like a big hole.
True.
Make sure everything's fastened in place.
Awesome. So where can someone get your book?
On my website or on Amazon, but I prefer you go to my website, which is www.SharonCaplesMcDougle.com. It is my whole name, my website. But if you Google "Sit Up for Lunch with Shay," you'll find it. But it is on Amazon for those people that like to use Amazon. You know, if you want to order it that way, you can. I just send people to my website because I get all of my money when it's
right. You don't want to have to share with them. Get it yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Well, guess what? We have reached the end of our time. I told you it would go quickly.
It went by so fast.
Yes, but it was amazing. When we look at this show, looks at all aspects of life through the lens of mental health. Yeah. And yours is truly a story of resiliency, because it could have turned out so differently. At 8 years old, you find yourself both parents dead, and you're, as you said, you felt like a slave.
Yeah.
You went from second grade life to being a maid. But look what happened. Yeah. So that's one, it can be encouraging to say, it's not where you start off, it's where you end up, and yours is truly a story of that. So that's one thing we can really gain from you. And, for parents who are listening who feel like your kids have to go to college or they won't be successful, let them explore.
I'm a poster child for.
Yes, here you are. So it's so good. And that statement of yours, rejection is redirection, something we can remember. So you had so many nuggets, but you are the epitome of resiliency.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that. It's like, oh, wow, we got it. We always like to end the show with a call to action. Our call to action is some things you can do as a result of being in the show. And so one of the things I'd like to say in listening to our wonderful guest, Sharon, is remember, rejection is redirection. Because we'll all be rejected. If you haven't, keep living. Right. And when you do, it can be devastated. But I love the idea. Okay, it's redirection. It's now what? Okay, that door closed. Let's find another one.
Pivot.
Rather than pivot. Yes, don't stay in that place. It is October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I want to remind everyone, all females out there, get your mammogram if you haven't. All males out there, encourage the women in your life to get your mammogram if they haven't. And vote, 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 yeah. Vote, vote, vote. It is so important. You can be very resilient, and there can still be so many things that fight against you based on who's in office. So vote. It impacts every aspect of your life. We're in another election cycle here in Texas, so vote. We have all these wonderful propositions. Go to vote411.org, and you can read about what's there. I don't want to say just vote. I always say be an educated voter. Exactly. And lastly, if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, November 11th, which is a Saturday from 10 to 12, I'm hosting a workshop. Say yes to yourself. How to say yes to yourself and no to everybody else. As women, we put that superwoman S on our chest, and we want to say yes to everybody. Come and find out you don't need to. So for anyone who's struggling with saying yes, come check out the workshop. It's $45. And for those of you who want CEUs, that's an extra $5. But it's right here in Arlington. It's on the Facebook Black Mental Health is Black Health Facebook page. You'll see a flyer for it. So come check us out. And Sharon, is there any one last thing you'd like to say to our audience?
Yes, through it all, I chose to be happy, even though I might have been dying inside. I chose to put on a happy face, and just always choose to be happy. Because if you choose to just wallow in it, that's where you're going to stay, in the depths of despair. Choose to be happy, no matter how you may be feeling. Still choose happiness, and it'll eventually come.
That is an awesome way to end. I love it. Choose to be happy no matter what comes your way. So thanks so much for sharing everything you did with us tonight. It was amazing. Loved it, loved it, loved it.
Thank you.
Bye
I
now.
enjoyed it.
And to my guest, see you next week.